Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson with Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 11th day of December 2018. Well, 11, of course, is a master number for illumination. So in this year of illumination, we have a day of illumination. So what will be revealed today on this Tuesday, this Mars day, this Mars energy day? Catalytic energy. December is a catalytic month, so we've got a little bit of alignment there. We can make that energy work for us or against us. We can rise to the occasion, take the bait, or we can rest in our own power of understanding. Let that be the catalytic expression. So make it work for you instead of against you today. We'll see if the cards, though, align with any of that today. We'll see if we get some illumination or some catalytic energy in the cards. That's always nice when that happens, isn't it? Lately, it's been happening, particularly with the runes. You'll get a rune that aligns with the day's numerology as well. So that's always nice when that happens. You kind of know when that happens that you're on the right track with something. When you start to look at if you look at a bigger tarot reading, what you would want to also do, you would want to look at the numerology of everything. You'd want to get an overall numerology, and then you'd want to look at the numerology of the cards themselves. And if you're grouping them in certain groupings, certain sections mean one thing or another, then you would definitely want to look at the whole numerology. If you've got 3 or 4 cards in a particular section or what have you, you would want to look at the whole numerology for that as well to get a little more insight. There's a lot of ways you can employ numerology in tarot and runes. And you should, I think. It just gives a fuller reading, I think. You can also look at planetary influences and, any number of things. There's correspondences abound that witches use. And so, we tend to look at everything in terms of how it vibrates. And we align things with elemental energies, elemental directions, and all of that. So we also use planetary information, and something's going to correspond to something else. And so we come up with all these correspondence tables. And if someone else writes something and we see it and we don't have it, we're like, oh, wow, where'd they come up with that? Or what source did they get that from? Usually we get our stuff from the old ancient grimoires, like the Key of Solomon and the Magus and by Barrett and Westcott does some stuff with numbers and with numerology and there's a lot of sigils out there. John D. Eliphas Levy, all of that. I kind of work with sigils, and so, well, I do work, not kind of, I do work with sigils. And so you can get a lot of insight from how they looked at things, your mansions of the moon, the planetary hours, all of those things can factor in or not when you work magic. I like to align things. I like to have an energetic alignment and then kind of view what I do in terms of a container of sorts, and then bring all of that energy, all that energetic alignment from different things into that container to sort of amplify the working, if you will, and align the energies so that everything flows in the way I want it to. So anyhow, little witchy stuff this morning. So let's count 13 and see what we have for today. Well, we have the 6 of Swords. Now, some people look at this as a journey over water. I look at it as a journey to new things, new adventures, new experiences. You've got the swords pointed downwards, so the focus is on physical matters. So perhaps their future is in front of them. Perhaps they're moving to another place to take a new job, for example. So that you've got a family of 3, or what you have is a ferryman here of sorts. I hope not an actual ferryman, but someone who drives a boat, who is taking this mother and child to someplace else. But I tend to look at it uh, as a family. Now, in this card, it's not always this way, but in this card, it looks as if, and I don't know this for a fact, that could simply be symbolizing trees, but it almost looks like the trees have snow on them, because they're not, you don't see the mountains as brown or gray or anything. It's more of a white. And so I'm wondering, she seems huddled, on the water, and the water seems somewhat choppy. So this could be in winter. That's possible. But look at that and see what you think. You see how in the background, I mean, it almost looks like a winter scene, like they're crossing the water during the wintertime. So for them to do that, then this must be a real journey. You can look at it also as the soul's journey, being a 6 and all of that. That's a higher self number. It's harmony, but it's also higher self. But let's look at the little grimoire here. It's easier to look at this card from the Thoth deck, because there you're looking at energy in all directions. Here, that's not so. So clearly so Crowley saw it different than what the Rider-Waite sees it as. Here, you don't see the thoughts scattered as much as in front of you. So you've got all of your worries in front of you, perhaps, or all of the things that you're thinking about that are part of the journey that you're taking, whether it's spiritual or physical in nature. In a sense, what we have here is a card of transition, because we're going across the water. Something is about to change. And so let's get another card just to see if we can inform this a little bit more. So with the 6, you would think more of a soul journey or a transformation of self, maybe. But with the family, there's a sense of integration about that it's a collective nature. So perhaps collectively on a group soul level, perhaps that there's something up and coming for us all, perhaps as a soul group, that we could be experiencing a change or a transformation. So in a sense, this could even indicate an ascension card, if you believe in ascension. It's easy, I think, to look at some of these cards in a way. I'm going to cover my tea here so it doesn't lose its heat. It's easy to look at some of these cards very literally. If you look at them in terms of the journey of the soul through form, however, then they take on maybe a little bit different meaning. So what you could see this as then, as instead of a single soul journey, you could see it as a group soul journey. But let's draw one more card and see what it has to say. Well, here we have a Wands card, and it's the 3. And we see somebody of wealth and means, possibly a king or a prince, holding on to one of the poles there, one of the wands or staffs or what have you. And he's looking out over the expanse at his future. You've got on the one side over here, well, I can do this backwards, don't I? Here you have the doorway. Okay, the 2 represent a doorway. All right. So it's almost like he's gone through the doorway and now he's standing there waiting. So did he make a decision like this to go ahead and take that leap of faith and move to something else? Either in his physical world or perhaps in his spiritual awareness? Threes are about triplicity. They are the and six, of course, is a multiple of three. So I would be happy viewing this and comfortable viewing this as the beginning of this process. And whether or not this is the ending, I wouldn't think so. I would think it's the journey. So we're going to pull one more card, but I want to look here and see if I've forgotten something. Yeah, expansion, active waiting. But it also has to do with business and trade. And he could be a merchant, a wealthy merchant. And so maybe he's made a decision to go somewhere else and seek his and apply his trade or work his craft there. So I think we see a progression here, but I don't think the six is the end. But let's see. It shouldn't be, because it's the journey. So we're either going to get something else about this journey, or we'll get the ending of it, the result of it. Okay? Well, we have the Hanged Man. So here you have transformation, inner transformation. So I think instead of an outward expression of journeying, I think we're going to look at this as a soul expression of journeying. And here we have the 12th card of the Major Arcana, which reduces to what now? 3. So we essentially have 3, 6, and 12. So we double each time, don't we? And what we see here, we actually see 2 triplicities here, both with his legs and his arms and his head. You see that? You see his knee and his foot, and then his other foot create one cross. And then we have his body, his torso, his upper body, and his head with his arms create a second triplicity. In a sense, you can see the tree, the would-be tree or gallows pole that he's hanging on upside down. There you also have a 3. So you have 3 triplicities here. I wonder if we can see a 4th. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Maybe the 4th is just implied. I don't know. But in any event, what we have here, we have an interesting numerology of 3, 6, and 12. So here we double to 6 from 3, and then we double from 6 to 12. Now, I see this then, this has got to be a card, this has got to be a reading of awakening or ascension then. Spiritually inside, we are awakening to who we are. We are awakening to the greater aspect of self as part of a greater soul group. And ascension is, we're in that time of ascension right now where we are awakening to who we are as source energy manifested into form. Because we really are, without being in the body, we are all one energy, essentially, part of the creator, essentially manifesting itself into form, into tangible form. I like to view it as resting in the Great Mother's breath, awaiting return. And then there's your life, right, of the universe. She breathes out the universe, and then we rest in that and grow and develop and become. And when she's done, she breathes back. She inhales us all back to her, into her loving embrace. Well, this is interesting. And I have to pull a rune now because I have to see what this is. But I'm pretty sure we're talking about the ascension within in terms of spirit. There's other kinds of ascension that we're also talking about, how we ascend to newer densities. It's the difference between reincarnation, what we do now, we come back to this planet, to this life, and an ascension when we can consciously do that, when we have reached a level energetically and spiritually in terms of our awareness where we can consciously ascend whenever we want to, whenever it's our time to do that, we will then go somewhere else other than here and not be part of this whole reincarnation loop that we're in. So whether that was done to us, to keep us oppressed, or whether it's just part of how things go until you get to a certain point in your energetic and spiritual development that you no longer have to do this. But it seems like not every human species in the universe does this, so they have a little more control. So something may have happened to us along the way in our genetic development here on this planet, where some of that was taken from us. So with ascension upon us, though, we're getting to the point now where we are developed enough that we can move on to other, experiences instead of always coming back to this physical type of expression. So anyhow, I pulled Tiwaz, which is the warrior, justice. It's also higher self. And you can see it pointing upwards. So what it's telling us is that's where we derive our wisdom, and our warrior spirit is actually from spirit, not from the ego. But Tiwaz is the 17th rune of the Elder Futhark. I get into the whole tarot mode. So that's an 8 number. So that's strength and harmony and practical matters, and it also tends to align with someone who's a professional. So it can be all about your profession, leadership. The Tiwaz is the mighty warrior within, the spiritual warrior within. Let's consult the Rune Grimoire. I'm having trouble speaking today. It was really windy out. We didn't go very far on our walk today because it was really windy. It was about 40 out, but with the wind, it just made it, really uncomfortable. Central Oregon is an extremely windy place. When we moved here back in 1981, we were living in Beaverton, in next to Portland, and we were renting a house from this woman and her husband, and she was actually from here, and we didn't know that until we gave our notice and said, yeah, we bought a home in Central Oregon and we're moving there. She says, oh my God, I grew up there. I moved away from there. Did you notice the wind? Well, when the times we had been there, no, we hadn't. We found out. Extremely windy here. Well, let me look here. And today was just too much. So here we go. Here's Tiwaz. Yeah, it's an air element rune, and it's about justice. It represents the god Tyr. I forgot to tell you that. About competition, confidence. It's kind of a male energy, and 3 is a male energy in a sense. It's catalytic. But it basically governs our confrontations, okay? We can be, today, of course, is a Mars energy day. And when you see Tiwaz, you think, uh-oh, you merge that with Mars, and maybe it's an energy that gets a little bit out of control. And so that's why I say, on a Mars day, you want to be really careful, particularly if you've got some other influences working. And of course, in this reading, we do. However, we have what we're talking about here, since we have 3 cards that I'm going to view as spirit cards today, and about our spiritual process and transformation and ascension, then we're going to look at Tiwaz in the same fashion. So today we want to, instead of being the outward Mars warrior, we want to be the spiritual warrior. And we want to choose our battles. We want to choose when to allow. The Hanged Man is telling us to allow more. We don't need to get involved so much in things. We can take a more neutral approach and simply observe. If you're an empath, this is your card, basically, because, we tend to absorb the energy around us and the emotions around us. I was listening to something where someone defined empaths as being someone who reads emotions, and a telepath is someone who reads thoughts. Well, I'm going to tell you that they're the same. So we can get all hung up in the verbiage that we use, but if you're an empath that also knows what people are thinking, understand that thought is emotion. All right. Thought is all emotion based. When they say God is love, they mean that. The energy that the creator used to create the universe and to create all of this was love. And so that is, of course, an emotion. It's not a thought, it's an emotion. And so it was done with love. And so everything is based on that until you get into form. And then we divide that, don't we? And then we have an ego that decides, oh, well, love of what? So, and then it all goes downhill from there potentially. Well, that's the whole thing. Don't get caught up. Don't start overly defining yourself if you're empathic. If you know what someone's thinking, it's because it's thought based. It's where it comes from. So if you're an empath and you know what people are thinking, well, so do I. And it's awful, isn't it? It's just awful because then they'll go, oh no, I'm not thinking that. So that's why you need this. Just keep it to yourself and know. That's really all you got to do anyway. Here you have the first card we pulled today. It's about allowing, isn't it? The woman and the child in the boat are allowing this man, in a sense, with all of their concerns before them, to float them across the water to something else. Here, we're allowing for new information and for a decision maybe, and for our will to remain in balance so that we can make the right decision. So here again, allowing. And here we need to allow the spirit within, the spirit warrior within, to overshadow the Mars warrior without. So anyhow, something to think about today on this Tuesday, this Mars day. But it is one of illumination, so perhaps we'll just go from that standpoint, won't we? So anyhow, well, that was cool. 3-card reading and a rune. Nice. Anyhow, thanks so much for stopping by. If you're new, welcome. Click subscribe if you like. I'd love you to do that. If you're back another time, yay! Thank you so much for coming. It's so nice to see everybody. I love doing this. And did I write something yesterday? I think I did. Oh, I put it up on the blog. So WordPress changed their my WordPress is what I use to do my blog. Okay, and they changed their format to a format that resembles the format Medium uses. And I have to say, I was not, I like new software, so I'm not really afraid of new software. So I love getting new software and playing around with it. But when you have a blog, it's hard to not worry. So I went ahead and I wrote a blog post and I examined the new editor. So if you write a blog on WordPress, read it, see what I did. It's very cool. I mean, it's graphically interfaced. It's very, very cool. And I just love it. So WordPress, good job, guys. You did this is a really nice thing, and yay. So I'm not going to fear it. I'm going to look forward to writing in it. It makes changing things and moving things around much easier. I can't even tell you how much simpler it was to do the post. And I was just playing around with the different stuff. I was just going places and finding things and then going and doing it, applying that particular, deal to what I was writing. And so there's sections you can make with different colors. You can change the color of the font. Only you can't like have a block and then have like one word in red and the rest in black. It has to all be red. So maybe they can fix that. But honestly, it was really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. So maybe I'll write something today too. But I've been working on the book and the other one the novel I've kind of set aside. But the other one I've been working diligently on. So that was fun to do yesterday too. So anyhow, I guess that's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. So anyhow, be good to yourself and be good to everyone else. And blessed be.